Former President Donald Trump has been fuming all day long over the newest witness in the election interference trial against him. Now, in the morning, he had posted this to
Truth essential.
I have just recently been told who the witness is today. This is unprecedented. No time for lawyers to prepare. No judge has ever run a trial in such a biased and partisan way. He's crooked and highly conflicted, even taking away my First Amendment rights. Which one? Now he's threatening me with jail, and they have no case. It's according to virtually all legal scholars and experts. Why isn't the fake news media reporting his conflict? Funny enough, not long after he posted that, he deleted it. It's gone to, I guess, try to avoid violating the court order, the court-imposed gag order. However, that post actually did not violate the gag order at all. But Trump's being extra super careful now that he has been threatened with jail time. Like I told you, he's going to try to push up against that wall, but not cross that line because he doesn't want to go to jail. He'd wilt like a flower, like a delicate little flower. Okay, anyway. So now the witness that he referred to is Stephanie Clifford, a.k.a. Stormy Daniels. During her testimony, Trump's lawyers had objected to her using any sex details during her brief encounter with Trump, and brief it was. But even what was allowed was definitely enough to send Trump into a bad mood. I mean, during the lunch break, he had a very frustrated look on his face and did a little bit of a pretend smile. But yeah, reporters could tell that he was not happy about this. So now the judge ruled that he would allow her to testify about certain details because of her credibility. Her credibility is at issue, and the ability to recall or fail to recall certain events bears on that credibility. And so, yes, this alleged sexual encounter that happened between them, the details do matter, but again, some details, as the judge said, are better left out, okay? Specifically, the details about his, his junk.
Tallywhacker.
Thank goodness. I really don't want to go and be reminded of that. And I'm sure no one else is either. But let's get into some of the testimony here. So Daniels said that she had first met Trump at the celebrity golf tournament in 2006. And all of this is already information that everyone knows. So it's not like there's anything new being brought into this, right? And look, after they met, Trump's bodyguard eventually arranged a dinner between them. She said that her publicist later told her that she should go to that dinner with Trump in order to, help her career. And he told her, what could possibly go wrong? Well, I mean, hindsight's 20/20 on this one. All right. So now during the dinner at one of Trump's hotels, she had asked him about Melania. Now, he reportedly told her, quote, "Don't worry about that. We don't even sleep in the same room." Well, why? Wait, what? Why would you worry about that? Whoa! He then told her that she reminded him of his daughter, quote, "blonde and beautiful." Gross. Remember, Trump did say, if she wasn't my daughter, I'd be dating her. Yikes. She eventually, look, again, this is all public knowledge, right? But she eventually ended up rolling up a magazine featuring himself on the cover and spanking him with it for being super arrogant. At this point, she said, I'd pretty much had enough of his arrogance. I was pretty nasty. I snapped, and I said, someone should spank you with that. Now, for him, apparently, he must have thought that that was foreplay or something, because what happened next was their encounter where, I don't want to get into the details, okay, of that encounter, and the judge didn't either. But some of this information was entered into the court record, okay, and some of these details, again, which do matter. Now, afterwards, of course, she detailed how he kept promising to have her be a guest on The Apprentice when he was doing that. Now, in reality, that never happened, and he basically strung her along for years, really just wanting to get into her pants. Now, after the first time, she would turn him down every chance. And of course, he kept trying and trying and trying, and she'd give excuses. And at one point, she stopped taking his calls. She knew that this was not going to happen, that, he was only interested in one thing and not helping her with her career. So now, years later, she had agreed to do the catch and kill when she had heard about Cohen. This is after the Cohen seeking the story. This was after the Access Hollywood tape had come out. And so in order to prevent further embarrassing details, Cohen, Pecker, Trump got together and they hatched a scheme to, hey, AMI, go and hunt down these negative stories. Cohen, pay them off, do the hush money so that none of this comes out during this election season. This was in 2015. Okay. So now she decided she would go along with this. She really didn't want the story to get out, either for fear of backlash from him, as well as, of course, to protect her current the relationship she was in at the time. So she also said, I wasn't really all that interested in the money. I mean, yes, it's $130,000. But she's like, I just don't want the story to get out. She said the NDA was the best solution to the problem. She would be safe from Trump and the story would not come out. She said that she was motivated out of fear and not money. Now, it is important to note, though, that the money was kind of important because when it was late, she became concerned that she was getting conned by Michael Cohen. She worried that if she didn't get the payment before the election happened, she would never get it because, in her words, he had gotten what he wanted, and it goes all the way back to me not being safe. So that's interesting. So, look, her testimony, though, overall, pretty embarrassing to Donald Trump. And he's lucky the judge wanted to limit the more embarrassing aspects here, because, again, that's not what the trial is about. Yeah, it's salacious, but really the whole point of getting her to testify and to talk about this is the incident that spurred the falsification of the business records, right? Because Trump didn't want the story to get out to the media, which could hurt, in his mind, his election chances. And so this is where it all begins, okay? Not wanting to go into too many details, like the embarrassing 2-minute long sex or the shape of his genitalia. That's nothing that, the court really needed to know. But they did need to know some of the details about the encounter and why it made her uncomfortable and what led to it and what happened afterwards. And so that said, Trump's team took the opportunity to immediately move for a mistrial. Of course. Trump attorney Todd Blanche had argued the prosecutors only wanted to embarrass Trump and inflame the jury, and that it was far afield from a case about falsification of business records. Quote, she talked about a consensual encounter with President Trump that she was trying to sell. We heard a completely different story. It's not that she was wanting to sell, it's that she had heard that Cohen wanted to buy. And she's like, okay. Blanche argued, though, that the testimony regarding condoms being blacked out and the power dynamic had prejudiced the jury. So that's some of the details. Trump had, she was very uncomfortable with Trump not using protection. The blackout basically is like, oh my God, next thing I know, I'm under this guy. And of course, the power dynamic being he's a very powerful person that can have a big influence on my career. And so I kind of got to play nice and go along with this. Blanche said, this has nothing to do with the reason why we're here. How can you unring a bell? So actually, it has a lot to do with why we're here, because the whole point is, again, Cohen and Trump not wanting that story to get out because of the negative implications on his electoral chances in 2016. So, or the possible chances. Now, the prosecution responded with, her account completes the narrative that precipitated the falsification of business records is precisely what the defendant did not want to become public. She added that they opened the door to this. Her testimony was necessary for prosecutors to rehabilitate credibility where they attacked it in their opening statement, saying that she is not a credible person and that she has been changing her story and things like that. We were extremely mindful of not eliciting too much testimony about the actual act, Hoffinger said. Todd Blanche responded, I don't think anybody can listen to what the witness said and think it had anything to do with the charged conduct. You run a very high risk of the jury not being able to focus on the evidence that really does matter. So now, what was Judge Merchan's response to this? Well, he wasn't buying this motion to dismiss here, saying, quote, I don't believe we're at the point where a mistrial is warranted. So again, I understand why she had to testify. We know this is a falsification of business records related to the payment and overall election interference. Okay. Now I also understand the judge not wanting to get into these details too much, and he had tried to put some guardrails into saying don't editorialize, don't get into too much detail on the actual act itself. Just give us the basics that led to the falsification in the first place. He then added, by the way, I do think that there were guardrails in place, certain details that I don't think that we needed to get into. At one point, he had to slow her down and get control of her a little bit, because she would move and speak very, very fast about this. It's almost as if she was in like just a hurry to get everything out. Okay. Now, that said, he did say, Judge Merchan, I was surprised that there were not more objections from the defense. At one point, the court had objected because there was no objection coming from the defense. Now, that's very interesting. Why? Well, it's because I do believe that the Trump team wanted her to mess up so they could mistrial, to go into too much salacious detail, and not only that, but they also, of course, as the defense does, to try to poke holes in the prosecution's case, into her story. The thing is, as I mentioned before, this has been public for years. We're not really learning anything new about this. And once again, the prosecution is basically using her testimony to illustrate to the jury why exactly Trump would want to enact the scheme to hide the story. And that is not just, about a personal embarrassment. It's about his conduct that could harm him in a election.